When working with surfaces, there are two ways to form a solid. You can either create an enclosed group of surfaces and use the knit surface. You can also create an enclosed group of surfaces and use the thicken, which will give you an option down below to just enclose the area. Or you can take a surface on its own and thicken it using this thicken command. The thicken command is fairly simple. You just click on a surface, choose a thickness, and choose which side of the surface you want the thicken to be on. The thickened surface is a combination of an offset surface as well as a lofted surface. So this is equivalent to creating an offset of about 0.2 and using these edges for a loft. And here we have roughly the same enclosed body. If you use the thicken with this, now that it's closed, you should be able to create a solid body. First, we'd have to knit together these three surfaces. So if we choose all three and leave the try to form solid unchecked, then when we come into thicken, we have this new option to create a solid from enclosed volume. And that'll also give us our solid body. So I have a few other surfaces here that also create an enclosed body. And if I use the knit surface command once again, and choose that try to form solid option, this will once again create a solid body. So if you already have an enclosed volume without any large gaps, you can simply use the knit surface to create the solid body. And there's a few things to keep in mind when working with the thicken, as the thicken feature can fail due to different geometry conditions. So here I have a boundary surface, and this is just created with a single spline sketch as well as a point with a normal to profile end condition. And based on the geometry here, I have everything coming to a point. It also looks like on the surface I might have a bit of an inflection. So you can kind of tell by the reflection that I might have slight issues with the curvature, having an indent at the top of this face. And that might end up being an issue for the thicken command, as well as the sharp corner here. So if I use thicken, and let's say set this to 0.2, I get a rebuild error. So there's two failure points within the thicken tool. It's either going to be the offset surface or the subsequent loft that comes from the two surfaces. So I can see at both corners of the part, or both ends of the part, there's some overlap between the surfaces. If I reduce this down, there looks to be less overlap, but still I may have issues. If I set this as very thin, I should be able to thicken this with ease. So at a certain thickness, this starts having issues. So there's a few things you can do with this. I'm not going to get into too great of detail on actually changing the geometry of the surface. I'm just going to take a quick look at an offset surface. And we can see this fails at the offset surface. So right now this is the failure point of the thicken feature. I'm just going to make a quick change to the strength of the normal to profile option, and I'll see if that makes a difference. And we can see this is a fairly rough looking surface. There's some defects at this corner, and it doesn't quite follow the shape that we want, but we were able to create the offset, and this would just need more tweaking to get to the right place. But once again, here you can simply just create boundary surfaces between your edges. And then we could turn around and knit all 5 of those, and would get our solid body. So keep in mind, with the thicken tool, there's going to be times where you won't be able to use it. Your geometry might be so complex that you have to create both your outside shape and inside shape manually, as in you won't be able to use the offset either because of the complexity of your geometry. And there you'll just have to recreate features and use a series of boundary surfaces and fills to get that all to work. But just remember the knit surface for enclosed volumes and the thicken for an open surface for creating a solid body.